Where did the towers go? I really recommend it. It's written like a PhD, but it has enough graphs and photos that the average person can follow her. Just need to recommend that book as we're doing this show 1 week before Christmas 2015 on a live Friday night with live William Wagner at large. I am large. I'm also at large. Then there's this interesting book I want to remind you about. This is called A Fish in a Courthouse. And it's written by an ex-police officer named Mean. Gary Mean. Now, Gary Mean didn't live very long in Ventura County after writing this book about the thorough and complete corruption of the judicial system in Ventura County, California. And I would love nothing more than to read you some snippets. But we got to get to Roger Tanner. But before we go to Roger Tanner, I just need to remind you one more time of this little book, which every school should require as reading before they graduate from high school, called LBJ, The Mastermind of the JFK Assassination. And those brooding eyes, if you're under 60, you wouldn't know who that is. But those brooding eyes are the psychopath eyes of President Lyndon Baines Johnson. Truly one of our worst presidents ever, because he was in on the assassination. He was a key player in the assassination of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who, despite continuing to escalate the war on the advice of his ignoramus generals and admirals in Vietnam, which I was a participant in that fiasco, Kennedy didn't want to do the war in Vietnam. It was actually Republican Eisenhower who started it. Kennedy continued it on bad advice, but he had a plan to get reelected after getting rid of this psychopath and then get a more pro-peace vice presidential candidate. And as soon as they won re-election in '64, the plan was, we'll pull out and stop getting Americans killed. If Kennedy had not been assassinated and we had pulled out in late '64 or early '65, I never would have suffered in Vietnam. And probably 50 of the 56,000 Americans that died there would not have died there, including my best friend and 5 cousins. I highly recommend this book because it is well documented. This is not a book like LaToya Jackson's, with almost no citations or who said what about what. This guy documents everything, and the fact that there was absolutely no autopsy of the president's sister, LBJ's sister, Josepha, who was murdered on Christmas Eve. She didn't die peacefully in a hospital or under a doctor's care. She was murdered, and her brother was the prime culprit. He documents this. Now in Texas, when somebody dies outside the hospital, just like California and most states, the law requires a coroner's report and an autopsy to see if there's any foul play. There was no autopsy of the vice president's sister. They just snuffed her. Why? You should read the book. I can tell you, but you should read the book. It's worth, you get it from something Horace, you can get, what's it called? It's right on the book here. I'm sorry. Publisher is given in the book. All I have to do is look. But Skyhorse, skyhorsepublishing.com. The price has come down a little bit from its original price of about $17. I don't get any kickbacks. I'm just telling you, if you want to know how J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the CIA, head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, Clinton Murchison, and the vice president conspired to kill their own president and then blame it on Fidel Castro, read the book. With that done, I think we are ready to take you to my rare and exclusive interview. This is more exclusive than my interview with Tom Mesereau, the defender of Michael Jackson. This is Roger Tanner, who was one time employed by Soldier of Fortune magazine, and he had lots of connections with people who you don't want to run into in a dark alley. Now he's talking about the attempt to murder Judge Spears way back in the Midwest somewhere. We ready? I give you Roger Tanner.
No one contested it.
Okay.
Okay? And the same way on this one. Now, I had witnesses with me when I took this in. And again, no contested. They handed it back to me. Well, you can see in the paperwork that I've given you that they have, if they touch it, it's the same as being filed.
All right. I saw that citation in the law. So what does this do with you being a businessman and the FBI refusing to do something they should do?
You have to ask them. They're the ones breaking the law, not me.
Okay. So you had said somebody was supposed to assassinate you, right? And how did you find out someone was supposed to assassinate you?
The first information was given, I'm trying to think what year. I'm going to say 88, 89, when an individual came forth that was dying of cancer, and he did an interview with Jim Harpin, Channel 13 News, WTOL in Toledo, Ohio. I guess the interview, I wasn't there, I didn't know anything about it until afterwards, but there was probably almost 2 hours of testimony of how he was hired by a local individual in Findlay, Ohio, given $6,500 as half payment to execute me. He didn't get the job done, but he was dying, he got religion, and a guy by the name of Bob Geyer was his mentor or whatever, and the guy's name was Jim Sherrard. He, shortly after that, died. That was the first.
Jim Sherrard died?
Sherrard, yes.
Sherrard.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to do the hit.
Yes. Yeah. He was.
And he told this local channel.
Yeah. He went on board. He went on camera and told the whole thing.
And you had the
Now,
video of that?
No, that was turned over to the FBI. Also, according to Jim Harpin, who's still in the Toledo area, his manager at the television station was a guy by the name of Al. Shoot, hit me too fast. Al Manis. Al Manis was the manager of the radio or television station. So one of those two individuals has also a copy. The FBI has a copy of that. Nothing was ever done. So much for that. That was one. Also, shortly, I think it might have been. It was in that same area. You're going to have to get the information from Charlie Hansen, who's not able to make it here today. Charlie Hansen owned a company in Toledo called Post Office Alternative, him and his brother. And it was recognized in the Entrepreneurs magazine as one of the top ideas. And of that year, they had an office on Reynolds Road and then one down in Seagate in Toledo. And two individuals come into the office on Reynolds Road one day when he wasn't there and threatened his wife. And the following day he was there because he didn't know what it was all about. They were upset with a operative of a company called Bounty Hunter Magazine, and they were looking for that operative. And the next day he was there, Charlie was, and he looked across the road and somebody pulled in and they laid a high-powered rifle across the top of the car and they shot at him, just missed him, went through the front plate glass and then through 3 walls in the back. Described, as we were able to decipher later, it was most likely Walter Trowbridge and his undersheriff from Monroe County, Michigan. The reason Trowbridge was upset with Bounty Hunter Magazine, the operative they were trying to get with Bounty Hunter Magazine had exposed to Channel 11 news in Detroit, Bill Proctor, and to the Detroit Free Press, and I can't remember the guy's name that wrote stories at the Free Press, and also the Toledo Blade wrote, I think in an assumption or whatever, there's probably 10 articles in each newspaper, which the writer from the Detroit Free Press won the Pulitzer as a result, explaining the corruption that was going on in Monroe, Michigan, and how inmates were being killed and brutally beaten. And the individual they were looking for to silence him, because he would work with John Conyers, Congressman John Conyers, and an attorney by the name of Rodney Watts, who was the attorney who'd sued, representing the victims in that county. And so this was retaliation to try and silence the operative. A short time afterward, this incident with Charlie Hansen, his other building downtown Seagate, they stated, I think the FBI stated, that it appeared that somebody stuck about 400 pounds of C4 in the building and they leveled it.